Hello cardboard lovers, it's Cardboard Badger here. I hope you're doing well, and today we have for you a budget Commander deck tech, mono green, and thank you very much indeed for everyone that had voted on the poll to choose this particular commander. But before I explain what this lovely commander is, why on earth have we done one at £25 or $30 in the US? The whole reason being is over lockdown, all F&M I have been doing had basically been via cameras, and myself and a good friend came up with the idea after we got very bored of standard to start producing decks at £25, which is the same price here in the UK as a pre-release. So let's introduce the commander. We have Baru Wurmspeaker. For 4 mana, 2 green green, we have a legendary creature, human druid, 3/3, and worms you control. Get +2/+2 and have trample. Also, for 8 mana, 7 and green, you can tap Baru and create a 4/4 green worm creature token. And this ability costs X less to activate, where X is the greatest power among worms you control. So the theme of this deck is we are going to ramp, we are going to make lots of worms, we're going to make extra tokens of even bigger worms, and we are going to be able to draw a huge amount of cards to find exactly what we want. If you would like a complete breakdown of this entire deck tech, I will put a link in the description below, because I will not be going through every single card in this particular deck tech. But if you're interested, please check it out, and we shall start with the creatures. We have 30 in total, not all of which are worms. There are some other ones which will be supporting us for card draw or ramp, and these will include such cards as Whisper of the Wilds, tapping for 1 or 2 mana if we have Ferocious. The same again for Elysian Caryatid, and also Karametra's Acolyte, enabling us to tap for our Devotion to Green, which is going to be huge. We also have Druid of the Cowl, tapping for an additional mana, and we have Abzan Beastmaster, which will enable us to draw a card if we have the largest creature on the battlefield. Introducing some of the worms we are playing, we have Voracious Worm for 2 mana. It's a 2/2 but enters the battlefield with an additional X number of +1 counters on it, where X is the amount of life you gain this turn. Can be played very early or later on in the game to be absolutely ginormous. Also, we got Boneyard Worm. It is power and toughness equal to the number of creature cards in your graveyard. And for some nice old cards, we have got Fallow Worm, a 4/4 for 3 mana. When it comes into the battlefield, discard a land card or bury the Fallow Worm. And also Harvest Worm, 2 mana, 3/2. When Harvest Worm comes into play, return a basic land card from your graveyard to your hand or bury Harvest Worm. We are also playing Soul Swallower. For 4 mana, we have got a 3/3 trample worm with Delirium. If we happen to have 4 or more types in our graveyard, it's going to come in with an additional 3 +1/+1 counters on it. And if we happen to have Baru, our commander, out, all these worms are going to have an additional +2/+2. And we're going to be able to tap those worms and generate more worms with Baru's ability. We're also playing Grave Tiller Worm, another massive worm, 6 mana, 4/4. It's got trample. It's also got Morbid, coming in with 4 additional counters if a creature died this turn. And one of my favourites, we got Dirt Cow Worm, 5 mana, 3/4. Whenever an opponent plays a land, put a +1/+1 counter on Dirt Cow Worm. We're also playing Battering Worm, 7 mana, 4/3 with Bloodthirst 1. Creatures with power less than Battering Worm's power can't block it. And we also have Tunneler Worm, 8 mana, 6 green green. We have a 6/6, and we can discard a card from our hand and regenerate it. And we are also playing Witherscale Worm, 6 mana, 4 green green. We have a 9/9, and whenever Witherscale Worm deals damage to an opponent, remove all the -1/-1 counters from it. We are also playing Engulfing Slagworm, 7 mana, 5 green green, and we have a 7/7. And whenever Engulfing Slagworm blocks or becomes blocked by a creature, destroy that creature, and you gain life equal to that creature's toughness. And the fattest worm of all, we have got Impervious Great Worm. 10 mana, 7 green, green, green. We have a 16/16 indestructible worm, and it does have Convoke, so we will have the opportunity to bring this out cheaper by tapping our other creatures. Up next we have Additional Ramp to support our non-worm creatures. These cards include Harrow. For 3 mana, 2 and a green, we have an instant, and as an additional cost to cast Harrow, sacrifice a land, then you can search your library for 2 basic lands and put them into play, then shuffle your library. They do not come in tapped. We also have Overgrowth, an enchantment land, and the land will then tap. It will produce an additional 2 green mana. We also have Nissa's Pilgrimage as well. This is going to enable us to get 2 lands, but if we have Spell Mastery it will be 3. And we also have Migration Path, a sorcery. Search your library for up to 2 basic land cards, put one of them onto the battlefield tapped, and shuffle your library. Up next we have our card draw. These will include cards such as Triumph of Ferocity. For 3 mana, 2 and a green, we have an enchantment. At the beginning of your upkeep, draw a card. If you control a creature with the greatest power or tied, similar to that, we are also going to be playing Garruk's Uprising, and also we are going to be playing Colossal Majesty as well. So all of our creatures are going to be bigger than 4/4s. We are going to be drawing a huge amount of additional cards. We're also going to be playing Hunter's Insight. 2 and a green, we have an instant. Choose target creature you control, and when that creature deals combat damage to a player or planeswalker this turn, you can draw that many cards. If we've got a 10/10 worm, we are going to be drawing a huge amount. In addition to that, we also have Momentous Fall. 4 mana, 2 green, green. We have an instant. At the additional cost to cast this spell, sacrifice a creature, and you draw cards equal to the sacrificed creature's power, and also gain life equal to its toughness. So that is going to enable us to stay in the game if we are a little bit slow. In addition to that, we also have Fruit of the First Tree. For 4 mana, 3 and a green, we have an aura. Enchant our creature, and when our enchanted creature dies, you gain X life and draw X cards, where X is its toughness. And we're also going to be playing Shamanic Revelation. 5 mana, 3 green, green, a sorcery. Draw a card for each creature you control, and if you happen to have Ferocious, you can gain 4 life for each creature you control with power 4 or greater, which is basically going to be every single worm that we have. Up next we have our removal in some form. We have Artifact and Enchantment removal in the form of Naturalize, as well as Wilt with additional cycling for 2, and we also have Return to Nature. As far as the creatures are concerned, there's going to be a lot of worms fighting our opponents. Some of the cards included are Tail Swipe, we also have Bite Down, and we also have Ram Through, which is amazing if you target a really, really small creature and then actually go straight to the face with possibly 10, 15, 20 points of damage. Up next we have the extras before we finally get to our mana base. These are the cards that I particularly find very interesting in this deck, have worked out to be a lot of fun. And that's starting off with my favourite card in the entire deck. We have got Instill Energy for 1 green mana. We have an enchant creature. Target creature can attack the turn it comes into play on your side, which is not important, but the next part is for 0 mana. During your turn, untap target creature, Instill Energy, enchants. Use this ability only once each turn. We put this on to Baru. It will enable us to tap and create a 4/4 worm, which then turns into a 6/6 worm. And then for 0 mana, thanks to Instill Energy, we can untap Baru again to then tap him and make another worm. So every single turn, we have the opportunity of making 2 6/6 worms. It is a huge amount of fun. In addition to that, because of the flavour, we have Worm's Tooth. For 2 mana, we have an artifact with whenever a player casts a green spell, you may gain 1 life, which will keep us in the game a little bit longer. Also, Mighty Emergence. For 3 mana, 2 and a green, we have an enchantment with whenever a creature with power 5 or greater comes into play under your control, you may put 2 +1/+1 counters on it. making our worms even larger. And we also have, of course, Sandworm Convergent, 8 mana, 6 green. We have an enchantment with creatures with flying can't attack you or planeswalkers you control. And at the beginning of your end step, create a 5/5 green worm creature token. So we're going to be making even more worms. And finally, we've got Death's Presence. 6 mana, 5 and a green. We have an enchantment with whenever a creature you control dies, put X +1/+1 counters on target creature you control, where X is the power of the creature that died. So no matter how big those worms are, we're going to be able to move the +1 counters onto another worm, making that one even more ginormous. These worms get very large indeed. And finally, we come to the mana base. We have a total of 36 lands, 32 of which are basics. Our non-basics are the following. Mosswalk Bridge. We can tap it and add 1 green mana, but it has Hideaway. We're going to be looking at the top 4 cards of our library. We're going to exile 1 face down and put the rest on the bottom of the library, but we can free cast that card in exile if we have a creature's total power of 10 or greater. Our worms are going to be very, very large very, very quickly, so the ability to free cast something is pretty good if we are lucky with our card pool. In addition to that, we also have Blighted Woodland. Tap 1 and add 1 mana to our pool, but we can pay 3 and a green, sack it, and then we can go look for 2 basic lands. We can also do the same with Myriad Landscape as well. And finally, we have Temple of the Force God. Tapping for 2 colourless mana if you control 5 or more lands. So there we have it. That is the entire budget Commander deck tech. $30 of Baru Wurmspeaker. You will need a lot of worm tokens for this if it goes off. Massive creatures. Lots of fun, lots of card draw. And I have to say, a great way of introducing new players into this format at a low price point. I hope you've enjoyed this. And like I said, if you want to check every single card in the deck, please check the link in the description below. Other than that, I'd just like to say thanks for watching, people. And if you have liked it, please like, share, subscribe. Do all the usual business. It will help out the channel hugely. Thank you in advance. Other than that, just like to say thanks for watching, people. And we will see you again soon here on Cardboard Badger.